Hey guys, hope everything's well. Today we're going to be making a video for you to help you meet your objective. I can write an equation to represent a situation. So today we're going to be practicing how to read a word problem and how to analyze it to help us pull out an equation using the numbers as well as thinking about the operations from those word problems. Okay, so let's take a look at our first word problem. It says Ben is making a recipe for salsa that calls for 3.5 cups of tomatoes. He chops 4 tomatoes, which fill 2.1 cups. Write an equation that could be used to find out how many more cups C Ben needs. Okay, so C is what we're going to be using as our variable for finding out how many more cups Ben needs. All right, so let's just take some notes. C is going to represent how many cups Ben needs. Okay, all right, and if I want to sort of just stop and think about what this problem is really saying, I think he's making a recipe, okay, and it needs 3.5 cups of tomatoes. All right, he cuts up some tomatoes, 4 of them, and out of those 4 tomatoes, he gets 2.25 cup of tomatoes. He still needs some more tomatoes in order to get to those 3.5 cups. He doesn't have enough. So if I have to come up with an equation in order to solve for how much cups of tomatoes he still needs, I'm going to think that he's going to first want to think about the amount of tomatoes he has plus what he needs, and that's going to give me my total amount. Okay? So that means we're going to be thinking about the cups that he has plus the cups of tomatoes he needs, and that's going to equal our total cups for the recipe. That makes a lot of sense. So now I can sort of just jot this in here. Looking at my problem, the cups of tomatoes filled. So he chops up 4 tomatoes. That's going to fill up 2.25 cups. So I'm not going to pop 4 tomatoes in here. I'm going to put the number 2.25 cups because I'm going to be writing my answer in cups. So 2.25, okay? And now I'm going to be adding, so I'm using my addition sign. Now my cups needed, I don't know how much cups he needs, but I know that I can use my variable C in place of that. This is what I'm solving for. I don't know yet, but I know if I'm going to add what I have plus what I need, that's going to give me my total. And in this case, that information is right in the problem, which is about 3.1 half. Let's take a second and just sort of see if this will make sense. So in order to solve for how many cups Ben would need, he's going to take what he has plus some unknown amount, and he's going to total them up together, and he's going to get the total amount he needs to his recipe. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Here we go. This is going to be the equation. So putting this all together, it's going to look like 2.25 plus C equals 3.5. That is our equation for this word problem. Okay, let's just make this a little larger. There we go. Okay, so that's how we analyze a word problem to write an equation. Let's try one more. Okay. A gardener recently spent $1,650 on new plants. The plants cost $75 each. Write an equation that can be used to find the number of plants, P, that the gardener bought. So we're going to be using the variable P to represent the number of plants that the gardener bought. Okay, and again, we're not solving, but we want to write an equation to help us that can be used to solve. So if I want to take a step back and sort of analyze this problem, I'm thinking, well, he spent a certain amount of money on plants, so a total amount of money on new plants. And if I take that total amount of money and I'm going to divide it by the cost of each plant, that should tell me the cost of each, that should tell me the number of plants that the gardener bought. So let's see. I can say that the total cost of each plant divided by the cost of each plant, that should equal the number of plants that the gardener bought. So in my mind, if I'm able to sort of solve for this, that would give me what I'm looking for. All right, so let's kind of just plug in here to see what's going on. So my total cost, if I go back into the word problem, I can pull out my total cost. My total cost was $1,650. Okay. So I'm going to take my total cost and I'm going to divide it. So that means I'm going to be using a division sign. In this case, I'm going to use slash. That also represents divide. Divided by the cost of each plant. The cost of each plant is $75. Okay. The total cost divided by the cost of each plant, good so far, equals, that tells me an equal sign, a number of plants. Okay, what am I going to put for my number of plants? Oh, here it is. It's the P, because the P represents the number of plants, that unknown amount. We don't know how much it is yet. So here's our equation. This is one way that we can write an equation to help us solve for this. So the really good thing about word problems is that sometimes there are different ways that we can think about a word problem. We can come up with different equations. So let's just take a look at another way. Okay, using exactly the same problem. Again, a gardener recently spent $1,650 on new plants. The plants cost $75 each. Write an equation that can be used to find the number of plants, P, that the gardener bought. Okay, well, another way that I can sort of think about this to solve for this unknown number of plants that the gardener bought is to really think about it first. Well, the cost per plant, okay, if I take the cost per plant and I multiply that by the number of plants, I'm going to take what each plant cost and you multiply that by the number of plants, that should give me my total. That makes sense too. So the cost per plant multiplied by the number of plants will equal the total cost. That makes a lot of sense. I can take this statement that I pulled out and sort of turn it into an equation. Let me make this a little larger. Okay. So here we go. All I'm going to do now is take my sentence that I pulled out and I'm going to make an equation out of that. So the cost per plant is $75. Okay. I'm going to multiply that by the number of plants. That means I'm going to be using a multiplication sign. The number of plants. Oh, that's right. That's what I'm trying to solve for. Since I don't know, it's an unknown number, I can put the variable P. Cost per plant multiplied by the number of plants will equal the total cost. And the total cost is given to us in this problem. There we go. So In this case, my expression is $75 times P equals 1,650. I can rewrite this equation. Sorry, earlier I said expression. This is not an expression. This is an equation. I can write this also by removing that multiplication sign, and it will become 75 equals 1,650. Okay, here it is written just another way, but is exactly the same thing. Whenever you see a variable together with another number, this means that they're being multiplied together. 75p means 75 times p, 75 multiplied by p. So that means the cost per plant multiplied by the number of plants that the gardener bought is going to equal the total amount. This is the equation that we can write to help us solve for the number of plants that the gardener bought. Okay, so I hope that this video was helpful. Please go back to the Google Classroom and solve for, there's a couple of word problems that you have. Please try to use these strategies today and solve for those. Okay, bye.